Hi everyone. So no music, nothing really special for this week, except another weekly countdown video. So this week is mainly featured around the old Union Cross. So I'm not going to boot it up on my phone. It's obviously something which is very easy to talk about. And somewhat ironically, I suppose not many people have Union Cross, or they don't want to buy it because reasons, I guess. But it is part of the story, and technically what happens on the mobile phone or tablet, or perhaps even through your own computer using an emulator, technically it's canon, so anything that happens on these devices happens chronologically. So yes, so Union Cross is a game, or Kingdom Hearts Key, or Unchained Key. Basically it has gone through different names as every update. So the question then becomes, why did they decide to go mobile? And even for me, this is a bit of a pickle. I mean, sure, there's nothing wrong with making a mobile phone game. I mean, it's nothing too dissimilar to how the Game Boy used to be, way back when, for those of us that were around at that time. So, what's the difference then? What's the catch? Well, not much. Except it allows Square Enix a chance to obviously develop Kingdom Hearts 3, which is vainly the excuse they've been looking for. Now, if I'm right about this, I think the game came out, what, 2015 or 2016? So it's been out for a while now. And through that, it's basically given us a perspective of what life was like before the Keyblade War ever started. Now, you've heard me in previous videos, I suppose at some point or another, mention a Keyblade War. More prevalently during the time when we were talking about Birth by Sleep, and generally that's it. So what was this war? When did it happen? How long ago? Who was involved? What were they fighting for? And what was the consequences of after? Well, the legend states more or less as such. A long, long time ago, there was just one world. There was no multitude of worlds. It was just the one whole planet. Basically, let's just call it, I'm not going to call it Earth, but think of Earth as the world that you inhabit. So it's very vast, it's very beautiful, it's very peaceful. There's an equilibrium of both light and darkness, so there's enough to go around. Now, Kingdom Hearts is more or less the... well, nobody knows what it is. Even for me, I don't know. So, some can speculate it's God, others can speculate it's another realm, another land. And that's generally what Master Xehanort believes it to be. It's a very powerful place, but no one has, there's no actual documentation on what it really is. You can even go and ask, let's say, more experienced people on Kingdom Hearts about this topic, and even they will probably find it very hard to tell you what it is exactly. There is a high chance that we'll actually be able to go to the true Kingdom Hearts in Kingdom Hearts 3, and finally that mystery will be solved, will be revealed, and we'll understand it better. Anyway, so Keyblade War. What was it about? Well, to put it bluntly, the war was mainly over the light itself. But why? So we'll get into that. No script or anything, but just going from what I've read, just to revise it a little. So again, going far back in time, so this is before Kingdom Hearts 1, before Birth by Sleep, way before them. There were a hell of a lot of Keyblade wielders running around this one particular world in question. So, what was going on? Well, there was a man in question known only by a name called the Master of Masters. And this dude is so powerful, so epic, that he was able to basically, I wouldn't say well, he did create, but he didn't, well, he was able to create a few things because he was very powerful. He didn't create the Keyblade, which is the counterpart of Kingdom Hearts, but he was able to make one. So he was able to make one preferably from scratch using the Keyblade as an example. Now, I believe that the Master of Masters, I don't think he can wield the Keyblade, but he is probably closest to the only person that might have been able to. But anyway, he managed to discover Kingdom Hearts' secret, probably understand a load of things from it, and thus was able to make a Keyblade, the very first one. And the first Keyblade that was made was none other, as far as I could ever try to read up on, is Master Xehanort's Keyblade, called No Name, or at least that's what the Master of Masters refers it to. He didn't just create that one, he created 5 others, which respectively belonged to his pupils. In total he had 6 people that he was training in the way of the Keyblade, and he basically made each and every one of them their own weapon, so it symbolised who they were. Now, Keyblades in their nature are only supposed to, they have their own feelings, they have their own intellects, they even can choose to no longer listen to you, I suppose, if you were proven to be unworthy. And they will know who their original masters are anyway, hence why if you ran up to Sora when he had his Keyblade, out, and you took it from him, just ripped it out of his hands, and you thought, haha, I've got the Kingdom Key, it will just dematerialise and just return to Sora because, dude, I don't belong to you, I belong to this guy. Anyway, back with the Master. He wasn't just gifted in making things like the Keyblade, he actually is the author of a book called the Book of Prophecies, or the Tome of Prophecies. Basically, he is able to see in the future events because of one particular thing that he was able to do. He transplanted his eye, I'm not too sure which eye, but he transplanted his eye into his weapon, which meant one day when he chooses to give his Keyblade away, down the line, his eye will be able to see, what else happens after he is gone, supposedly. Now, these 5 pupils that he had, or 6, but we'll just talk about the 5, made up a special group, or gatherings of groups, called Union, or 5 unions. Now, each union is unique to themselves, and they are basically just different organisations is the best way to put them. So you have I'm probably going to butcher the names of these ones, so just bear with me. There is a union which does symbol around bears as well, by the way. So you've got the Anguisse Union, you've got the Leopardus Union, you also have the Unicornus Union, the Ursus Union, and the Vulpes Union. And each of these unions symbolises an animal. So the first one was a snake, the next one was a leopard, the third was a unicorn, so mythological, the fourth is a bear, and the last one is a fox of some kind. And each one of them has a leader, which was the 5 pupils. So Envy is one that belongs to the snake, Gula belongs to the leopard, Ira belongs to the unicorn, Aced belongs to the bear, and Ava belongs to the fox. So that's your 5 union leaders. But they also go by another name, which is foretellers. So you have a master, foretellers, and then your Keyblade wielders, which serve under them. Now, each foreteller was gifted a book of their own version of the Tome of Prophecy. So the Master of Masters basically has written the book, and he's given each one of the foretellers their own books. So they all say the same thing. However, each one of them are missing a page, and this page is the very most important one, because when all of them read the book, they realised that there's a war coming, and it's the Keyblade War that the Master of Master refers to. Anyway, the Union Cross game doesn't necessarily follow just the foretellers, it's actually following us as the player. So we play as, obviously, a character in the game, like we always do, and we basically can choose which union that we want to be with. So, for example, myself, I'm with the Unicornus Union. Why? I don't know, I find Era to be kind of, I don't know, I think he just seemed like the decent guy to pick at the time. So it was just like, do I really want to go with a bear, or do I want to go with a snake? Do I want to go with a leopard? Or do I want to go with a fox? Or do I want to go with a unicorn? And I don't know, I just thought unicorn would be just a random thing for me to do. But yeah. Anyway. So as the player, you get introduced to your foreteller, and he or she will tell you your destiny is going to be good, you're going to fight for me, you're going to collect lux, which is basically light, and you'll be safeguarding it, preserving it for the betterment of the world. So it's just like, that isn't word for word, but it is roughly what the job is. However, you're also given a Dream Eater. This Dream Eater is known as Kirithi or Chirithi. They're beautiful little creature, actually. They're nice and small in comparison. Probably would say that for sizing. And their job is to assist the wielder that they are connected to. Excuse me. Now, these creatures were actually made by the Master of Masters himself, and he just said every Keyblade wielder gets them. However, if they turn into a nightmare, it proves that they have been corrupted by darkness. So basically, it's a good way to give a red flag to say, I'm possessed. Anyway, so as time goes on, your character in question obviously levels up, becomes powerful, learns new techniques and everything else. But upon their adventuring, you're not just stuck in one world, you do get to travel to other Disney worlds, but these worlds aren't real, they are illusions, I think is the best word to put them. So they're not really real, but they are basically, as far as I can remember from not just the game, from when I was playing it, still am, I think it was more or less like a data projection, if I can recall it. So these are events, these are the worlds taken from what we would consider our present, but from their time, the distant future. So it's just like, okay, and they can't necessarily divulge, the existence of any other world, so I suppose that's where the whole world order thing stems from. Anyway, now, from the foreteller's perspective, the Master of Masters disappears, he leaves, he even tells this to them individually, although in his own corny way, and he decides to make Era the one that's in charge of everybody. Aced is second in command, I believe Envy is supposed to keep eyes and ears on everybody, so like a spy. Ava is Gula is to find out who the traitor is, because he is actually given the lost page that the other Union leaders didn't have, that says who the traitor is. And Ava his job is to basically, once the war's over, because you can't stop it from coming, you have to have people ready to rebuild. So it's fine you participating, it just means that we need to have we need something left over. So she forms up another group called the Dandelions, and these are specially picked Keyblade wielders from different unions, so not just from her own, but from other unions. And these people do come around. So you have Ephemera, you have Skulls, who come from different unions apparently. Also, another character makes a return, Ventus. He's actually around at this time, and also Lumarium and Brain. So these 5 are going to be the new leaders of the next generation of unions. But that won't happen until the war. So, what eventually starts to happen is the foretellers start to lose faith in one another, basically escalating the threat of the war more so. They bicker and argue. They then tell their Keyblade wielders to, go out and collect more Lux. So this is where the greed part comes in. This is where more darkness starts to show. Then the war does take place. So, before the Keyblade Graveyard was called as such, I believe this probably took place in an area far away from Daybreak Town, which is where all these Keyblade wielders used to live. But before the war necessarily kicked off, the 6th apprentice, which is known as Lushu, I would assume he knew everything because the Master of Masters probably told him. And he passed down his Keyblade to Lushu. And also a box, which we don't know what's inside, but Lushu does. And he's not to open it at all. Anyway, his job is just to see the war happen, don't take part, just watch it, and see the outcome. He does this, but he also speaks to Ava before the war even kicks off. And he actually tells her who the traitor is, apparently, and she then attacks him and the war begins. So he defends himself, and obviously he's alive, and he basically just, witnesses the war from afar. In the end, all the 5 union leaders, I would assume, along with the Keyblade wielders from their respective unions, minus our player, and, if we exclude our character, every Keyblade wielder that took part in the war basically dies. So it's a harsh thing to see. Even though in a cartoony way you can kind of feel the emotion from, how to put this, you see, death in Kingdom Hearts has never really been that prevalent before. Although you can kind of get the gist of when you kill somebody, it's like they're dead, but it's magic, so it's fine. But nobody has ever experienced, let's say, proper death, and the only point in time that we have was when Xehanort killed Ericus by literally, not saying he stabbed him in the back, but more or less shot him in the back. And what happens during the war is every single time a Keyblade wielder was slain by another one, a few things will happen. So I don't necessarily have a good way to dramatise this now, do I? I can't get the lightsaber down. So we'll just use my torch as an example of a weapon. So I'm holding the Keyblade in question. I've just been defeated, and the very shocking thing is the wielder before their last moment of life has them probably going down to their knees and impaling the blade into the ground as like a moral as some form of support. They then die from, I'm going to assume, being slashed, hacked or beaten. They collapse and the Keyblade itself is just left idle, impaled into the ground. The Keyblade wielder themselves loses their heart, And I would assume from this process, either because they were slain by the Keyblade, they don't become a Heartless, or they do, so then basically the war is made even more worse, because every single time a wielder dies, a Heartless is taking their place. So this is where more darkness seems to actually envelop and take everything. Getting back to the war, so you actually have your character face off the different Union leaders as well. Even probably your own leader in question, so whoever you've aligned with, I suppose you do face them. Since at this point now, everybody's at everybody's throats, it's a free-for-all. Now, in the end, you as the player actually do survive the war. You are basically, you're exhausted, as your character is. You've just fought a very long battle. You didn't die, that was a good thing, but you're too far gone. But getting back to when people were dying, as the war drags on, you start to see little hearts flutter away up into the sky. And yeah, at first you're thinking, oh, it's just the odd one, but then it becomes more. And then it starts raining as well. So it's as if like the world itself is crying over the amount of loss of life there is. And then in the end, Kingdom Hearts shows itself. The gods, the creator, the everything appears. And what it then does is, I suppose, what it would naturally do. It consumes all the loss of life, so all the lost hearts from not just the wielders of said Keyblades, but the Keyblades themselves have also had their hearts taken. So when Xehanort quotes, these lifeless keys were once held strong or good power, not good power. These lifeless keys once held tremendous power, I believe. I think he said. I'm not too sure if that's the right quoting. But the wielders that once held them did hold immense, great strength. I mean, considering if you take a look at the Badlands, when you're getting to In Birth by Sleep in the Keyblade Graveyard, you get to see the devastation the war made. It basically turned the world into a completely desert, and you were able to take a look at, say, mountains with huge holes literally taken out, and in the case of the ground, massive, huge, ginormous craters. And that's just probably with just the simplistics of magic, not even just that. Anyway, so with the war finally over, you have Ephemera and Skuld who appear and take the player somewhere safe into a new world, which is the Enchanted Dominion. Meanwhile, the remaining Union leaders are, well, the new Union leaders are now meeting in the Keyblade Graveyard for the first time. These are Skuld, Ephemera, Ventus, Brain, and Lumarium. But there was supposed to be a different person. I'm not too sure out of the 5, but let's just exclude Lumarium. The other new Union leader, who I believe who was going to be one, was called Strelitzia or Streliza, and her position was quite unique in a sense. She was actually enthralled by us as the players. She was always following us. She wasn't ever going to engage, she wasn't talking to us, even though she wanted to, she just never done it. Now, Arva gave her a book, which was a new rule book, which was made by the Master of Masters before he left, along with the Tome of Prophecies. So she was given these things, and she was going to be one of the new Union leaders. However, before she could leave before the war started, she was cut down, and well, her brother, which is Lumarium, had decided to take the book and basically fulfill her role. Now, the new Union leaders decided that they weren't going to be separate, they were going to work together, hence why they became known as Union Cross. Now, X's in Kingdom Hearts always symbolise traitors and basically Xehanort. So it seems to be ironic in the sense that we know that the X symbol means that there's a traitor, because Gula has also stated as such, because it was in the Tome of Prophecies in the missing page. The one who bears the sigil is the traitor. Now, the only time that we hear the word sigil is from young Xehanort, and when he references it, it's the X. Anyway, so knowing that, we need to somehow, well, not we, because the story is still ongoing, nobody truly knows who the necessary bad guy is. Now, if you take the X and you put it into Lomarium's name, you get Marluxia, and he actually even encounters a girl during the events after the war, who, if I can just find her name, is Elrina. And if you put an X in her name and rearrange her letters, you get Larxene. She was one of the members of the organisation's member of Organisation 13. At least the first one, as she also makes an appearance in the true organisation for Kingdom Hearts 3, along with Marluxia. So there seems to be these ties and connections, which is what the whole point was for Tetsuya Nomura to do within the mobile, was to show what happened before the war, during the war, and now the aftermath. At the same time, our character has been experiencing nightmares, and the ever-growing darkness is continuing. Now, after the war, as far as we know from the legends side of it, the world itself was destroyed. So, if that's true, then the world that is actually around is still in devastation. But in Union Cross, the new Union leaders put all the wielders to sleep and kept them into a dream version of what was going on. So they basically relived their adventures again, but it was after the event of the war, and all their minds were all scrubbed from it, so they won't have the post-traumatic stress of the war itself. However, our character seems to have nightmares of the war, so it's causing a lot of negative feedback, I guess. Something that they don't want. They are still trying to figure out the mysteries of the previous 5 Union leaders, including the Master of Masters, so they're constantly doing investigations and just trying to figure out what's going on. And I think that is, as far as I can put it, up to the point of where it's all up to date. So it's still ongoing. So I could probably wait, let's say, a few months later and then say, oh, there's now new things added. But there is one other thing. Maleficent also is in Union Cross, the one that we know about, the Maleficent that happens within Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 or Coded or whatever it is. But she manages to get away from Sora, so that's mainly her goal, and she's time travelled back in time. She then realises from a mysterious figure, while she's in Enchanted Dominion, that she can't necessarily seem to change anything, because the mysterious person tells her, well, this world isn't really real, it's just data. You know about data worlds because you've been to them before, so you can't change things that either haven't happened yet or won't ever happen. However, because she knows about the future, she's actually a huge threat to the timeline. So the mysterious person then tells her how to necessarily time travel. Now, the only beings in question that we know who know about time travel are, well, Xehanort as a young man, along with the Heartless, and generally I believe that would be it, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that the Master of Masters might know about time travel, since if he gained, let's say, all his knowledge from Kingdom Hearts, and this is what I'm speculating, then time travel would just be something that he'll just know about. So I believe that is it. So, not really much, I know, but still. So, we are now, I believe, on the 8th week, so 2 weeks away from Kingdom Hearts 3. I know in my last video I was very excited due to the fact of the code, which, to tell you the truth, me making this recording is literally a few hours ago from doing that recording which you saw from last week. So basically I'm trying to do these videos whenever I have a day off, basically, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get these all crunched down now, so once it's done, I just upload it all. So yeah. Anyway, speaking of the code, someone has actually won my competition. I can tell you their name, so although perhaps maybe I won't give the full name, so we'll just quickly take a little quick look. So it's Davian. So if Davian, if you are watching my video for some reason or another, I bid you congratulations on winning the competition. I think I kind of fluffed it at some point because I experienced a bit of lag on my internet. So here in the UK it's not very reliable, but meh. Anyway, so Davian, congratulations, you've won. He has got the code. However, the code obviously is not active at this time, so I know this, even though it has been expressed by people from Facebook telling me, oh, the codes don't work, which I know they can't work because the game isn't out yet. Reason being is I've also double checked it, so I've made sure that my code says the same thing that I would expect what Davian probably seen. So it's up to him whether or not he wants to keep hold of the code. He should, so as long as he's got the code, it should be fine. So I'm pretty sure he's written it down. If he's lost it, he has to just come back to me and I'll give him the same code. So it's not going to be hard. Anyway, so in less than 2 weeks to go, has this been very excitable? Yes. Yes, it has. It has been excited, or excitable. I keep on saying a lot. I don't know why. Probably because I just can't think of what I need to say next. To put it in a huge broad aspect, I can only just say this as a fan of the game. Whether or not I'm a die-hard fan, I'll leave it up to people's speculation, but ever since playing Kingdom Hearts, I have been somewhat obsessed about it. Only because of generally the story, as far as I can always put it. I enjoy seeing and reading and hearing and experiencing the joy of, well, the sense of adventure, I think, is the best thing. The immersion of it all. Albeit it's a linear set and it's, you know, you have to go from point A to point B. It's, to me, it's a very fun, enjoyable game. And being able to share about it and talk about it, probably to not many people, is hard, I suppose. But for this medium upon which where I'm talking to you, the viewer, it's a bit exciting, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah. Whether that's cringy, I don't know. But it's just something I just wanted to talk about. I mean, I could, in a sense, bore people with the theory of certain things that I have seen about, heard other topics about, and so on. But doing that won't necessarily help. Not until the game comes out, at least. So yeah, the 29th of January for the rest of us, 25th of January in Japan. Because obviously by the time this video is out, it's already in the new year, so... Which actually just reminds me. Bear with. Let's see. So yeah, yesterday was King. I'm not saying don't listen to me for a second. So I've done that one. I've done this one. So Birth by Sleep was done. Dream Drop Distance was last week, and this week is Kingdom Hearts Key. So in retrospect of this video, there is literally only 10 days left till the release of Kingdom Hearts 3. And then after you see, this is where the funny bit comes in. And then on the 22nd, which is when the next video will be coming out, so that'll be next week, there'll literally be just 3 days. 3 days. It's funny how that works out. So what will be the next video, I hear you ask? Well, the next video will be mainly talking about 0.2. And what is 0.2 is basically its Birth by Sleep. And it's what happens when Aqua falls into the realm of darkness. Okay. I believe that's it. So I can only hope that you have enjoyed the video. I'm sorry if I made it very cringy. Please don't forget to like, comment as well. I do enjoy comments, even though it doesn't seem possible that anyone likes to comment, although it's more preferable. If you have an opinion, I'd like to hear it from you. That's the whole point. So like, comment, subscribe if you wish. You don't have to, but it's up to you if you want to continue on. There is a little bell icon, so if you want to catch up to date with more of these videos, that, well, by this time will be just one more video, I would highly recommend that you do that. Anyway, so before the video fully ends, actually, after the 0.2 video, there will be another video done of the unboxing of Kingdom Hearts 3, which basically is the deluxe edition I've ordered. So that will be done, obviously, here. So once I have that, I will try to see if I can arrange something special to do here or basically anywhere. So yes, that's what I'll be trying to do. Also, on that video, on that note, perhaps maybe a theory on what to expect. So I have been me, and you have been you, and I hopefully you guys get to catch me next time.